this needs to be the very best evening that they've had for a long, long time. I cannot tell you how much I have felt that for 50 years of doing what we do.
Hi, this is Kevin Williams, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Bill. Bill and Gloria Gaither have been writing and singing songs all over the world for decades. We've compiled some of the most asked questions of them throughout the years. Here's this week's question. What drives you to continue to do concerts and events week after week?
I am overwhelmed because I know how hard it is to get me out of my house. And I've got good friends who are around here performing at times. And I've called them and said, I'd love to come, but Gloria and I need this night just by the fireplace, and, we'd like to watch the news and just. So when I look out there and I see people who have planned for 4 or 5 months and they're looking forward to this evening, I got to be honest with you, I feel very responsible to say these people have gone to a lot of effort. They don't care if we've had a bad week. They don't care if our throat's bad. Of course, with the vocal band, I've kind of bought some insurance by having some extra singers, to help. But this needs to be the very best evening that they've had for a long, long time. I cannot tell you how much I have felt that for 50 years of doing what we do, because I think that's important, because their time is valuable. And to me, they are the most important people in the world because they have helped us do what we do. Mm-hmm. Without them, I could have been teaching, and I would have been a good teacher. And I've been happy to do that. But because they said, we love what you do, and we believe in what you do. And I really feel that. And I will gladly take that and say thank you. And I will not take it lightly. And then secondly, I love to talk to the person who's been turned off. I love to talk to the male especially. I think it's just tougher for males. It's just not the nature of males to cry out for help. They have to see it, feel it, and touch it. But when I see an old trucker guy at a truck stop, that he won't even hardly look in my eyes. He'll say, "You Bill Gaither?" I'll say, "Yeah, I am." "I watch you on television." "Well, thanks." "And don't get me wrong, I'm not religious or anything." I said, "Don't worry about it. That doesn't bother me at all." But it makes me feel like maybe I'm talking to some people who are not going to listen to a sermon on a Sunday morning. But they can see a bunch of guys up there having a good time, laughing at themselves, and then get serious about the cross and the things that can make a difference in life. They might like to check that out. And that'll get me up in the morning.
When we sat down to record this, there was a painting of Bill's dad on the wall just next to him. He couldn't help but tell us some of his favorite George Gaither stories. He calls them George-isms.
My dad's name was George W. Gaither, W for William. And I find myself these days living by a lot of things he lived and said. I call them George-isms. We are all the total product or the summation or DNA trickles down and we become this particular person that we are. And I'm a combination of my mother's side, which were the Hartwells, Irish, Cherokee Indian, and very passionate about life. And probably my art side of me came from my Grandma Hartwell, who loved poetry, loved flowers, loved beauty. And probably my steadiness in even running a business and being fair and coming up with some good conclusions. A lot of that came from my father. I can remember him saying things like, I mean, he would look at extremes, and we're living in a very polarized time in our culture. In fact, I can't remember such a distance between our culture as is today, and the only word is we're polarized. And he would say about extremes, he would say, well, probably we need the extremes. I mean, because they ring a bell that we might not have listened to had they not rung the bell on the left or the right. And I'm not only talking about politically, but I'm talking about somebody coming in and griping, complaining about something that's happening. And I've seen them do this so many times. On the road, somebody would say, we got this new kid helping on products. He's really bad, and we need to get rid of him. I'd run it by my dad, who traveled with us, and he said, well, that's not totally true. Yeah, he's a little hyper, but I think he's worth salvaging. So when you come up on practical problems like that, nobody was better than my dad. My dad would say, there are always two sides to the pancake. I don't care how thin it is. And you got to listen to both sides. And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. And you can say that any way you want to say it. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and all that. And somehow, I think wise people who stay around for a long time, and my dad stayed here on planet Earth until he was 91, figure that out and simply say, the answers are not that easy. But the answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
Well, Bill's not quite finished, but I want to quickly say that if you've ever been to a Gaither concert, you know that it's a time full of laughter, inspiration, and amazing music. You can check out Gaither.com to see when the tour will be in your area and to find out about special Gaither events.
Russ Taff has to be one of my best friends. He has spilled more coffee on more of our buses and planes than anyone. He is the most nervous coffee drinker. He comes in like this with this coffee. Crazy little character, but you got to understand, I live in the art world, and they come in strange packages, but the world's a whole lot better for them. I never forget, we were in Saginaw, Michigan. It was cold and it was windy, and we hadn't seen Russ. And we said, "Where's Russ? Where's Russ?" Nobody'd seen him. And I can remember Guy and David playing a movie that had a lot of noise, and it was shaking the whole bus. Little did we know at the same time, Russ was under the bus only because he opened up the bay to get his bag, and it was clear in, so he went inside, and the wind was blowing so hard, the bay came down, and he was locked in under the bus. Didn't he have his cell phone? And so we kept saying, "Where's Russ?" And finally, we did hear a banging. He was under the. We laughed now. It could have been very, very serious. Crazy times. You know what? He had a pretty good sense of humor when we finally found it. He just shook his head, and we shook our heads. Say, "Russ, only you. If it's not spilling coffee, it's getting locked under the bus."
If you've enjoyed this episode of Ask Bill, click the subscribe button to check out the other great clips on this channel. And if you have a question for Bill, leave us a message in the comments section.